Okay, so in this week's guitar lesson, we're going to be talking about staying where you're at on the fretboard and minimizing movement. That's one of the things we all do when we're trying to improvise. We feel like we need to jump into different patterns or scales or something. But sometimes the answer is just doing something very simple and maybe moving one fret, or actually, in a lot of cases, just staying on the note that you're on. That might work over the next chord. So we're going to kind of talk through all of that, everything that I played in the intro. We're going to break all of that down note for note, and I'll explain where it all comes from so that you can take these ideas and apply them to your playing however you need to do that. So we're going to split this into two parts. In this video, we're going to go through the first half of that lead. If you'd like to learn the second half, download the tablature, download the MP3 jam tracks so that you can practice playing everything. You can get all of those extra materials by going to activemelody.com, go to the weekly lessons page, and do a search for EP521. Okay, so let's listen to the first three chords, and then we'll talk about what to play over them. All right, so let me mention the tone that I'm using for this. There's really three things at play here. One is there's a little bit of overdrive. It's not clean channel. I always like to have just a little bit of overdrive. It gives you that extra bit of sustain. There's also some delay. So you can hear a little slapback delay. And then there's some reverb as well. So it's the combination of those three things that allow the notes to ring out a little longer than they would otherwise. You don't need those things. You don't have to have them. But I just want to mention that because somebody will ask. Okay, so that first chord is a C chord. And this is what I played. Okay, now the next chord is a G sharp chord, G sharp major. That's kind of an unexpected chord, right? An unexpected twist. We've actually switched keys when we do that. We go from a C to a G sharp. They're not in the same family. But what did I play over that? I played this. So it's almost exactly what I played over the C chord. Let's look at that. So for the C chord, I was thinking about this area. This is my C chord using the A shape. And actually I was thinking about just the top three strings of that. So that top part of that A shape. It's my C chord though. Now here's what you can do though. If you bar the first two strings on the 3rd fret and then put your ring finger on the 5th fret 3rd string, you have this sound. And what that is that's a sus chord, or a suspended chord. So when you're playing this, that's like a C sus2. But if I put my pinky down on that 5th fret 2nd string, I've now played the C chord. So this is the C sus2, this is the C. If I slide my pinky up here, and now I'm playing the C sus4. So you have a sus2 and a sus4, a suspended 2, or suspended 2nd and a suspended 4th. Those are the numbers, by the way, from your major scale, your C major scale, the 2 and the 4, the 2nd and the 4th interval. You're adding those to the chord to get this suspended. You're not going to the 3. That's the whole point. You're dancing around the 3. Is it major? Is it minor? We don't know because there's no 3. So anyway, that's one of those things I like to do when I'm trying to create kind of a spacey, atmospheric sound, is to play these suspended chords. They just sound perfect for this. So that's what I played over the C chord. Now you know why it works. Now, when the song goes to the G sharp chord, I stayed here and played the same thing, but this time, instead of hammering on where I did on the 5th fret 2nd string, I went to the 4th fret 2nd string. So I used my middle finger for that. Now let's just analyze what's going on here. Just looking at those top 3 strings, that's what I ended up making, was that chord. Well, if I listen to that chord, that's a minor chord. In fact, we can keep analyzing and we can see it's a C minor chord. Now wait a minute. I thought that the chord was a G sharp chord, and it is. So why does a C minor triad work over a G sharp chord? If you analyze that and you play your C minor triad but put that G sharp in the bass, listen to that. That's a totally different sounding chord. It's not minor. It's got that kind of atmospheric sound. That's a major 7 chord. So when I do it that way, I'm playing a G major 7 chord. Now that's not the way you would finger that. You'd play it more like this. Or you could play it like this. But the takeaway is, inside of a major 7 chord is a minor triad. Maybe you knew that, maybe you didn't know that. And when I realized that, it kind of blew my mind that when there's a major chord happening in a song, I can play a minor triad on top of that. In my lead, I can play the notes, I can arpeggiate it. But when I do that, it's going to color the song like a major 7 chord. Now the way that you find that and know which minor triad to use is it's your third interval of your major scale of the chord that you're trying to do that over. So for your G sharp chord, you go 1, 2, 3. We're just walking up the major scale. There's my C, right? So I would play the C minor triad. All right, well, hopefully that's a useful piece of information that you can take and apply to other things. Kind of mess around with it. Find a major chord in a song, or just record yourself on your phone or whatever, and try playing that minor triad over it, and you'll hear that sound. All right, so from the beginning, over the C chord, we played that. Now over that G sharp, we played that, which makes it sound like a G sharp major 7. The next chord is an F minor. And what I played was exactly the same thing. I stayed in the same area. Now, I didn't plan that out. I didn't think about it. I just thought, I'm just going to stay here. And this is something I like to do if I'm doing this kind of spacey sound. I just like to hang out on a note or an idea until it kicks me out, until it doesn't work. So I'd play the thing again, and it worked, even over that F minor. Now, I don't really have a good explanation for why. I mean, these notes would be in your F minor scale, but what I ended up doing was putting my pinky down up here on the 6th fret 2nd string. That's an F note, by the way, so I knew that. And so this chord is an F sus2, or an F suspended 2nd. And that works great over your F minor because there is no third interval, so it's neither major nor minor. It's got that suspended sound, spacey sound. All right, so the next chord after that F sus2 is my C chord. We go back to the C, and watch this. So all I need to do is come up here and bar the first 3 strings on the 5th fret. I can keep my pinky where it was on that F note, and then I can release it to that 5th fret 2nd string. And why is that working? Well, this is in my C chord, right? It's the little triad there. And what's interesting is this, which was part of that F sus2, once the song switches to the C, this is a C sus4. So an F sus2, here's the summary, an F sus2 is a C sus4. You can work that out however you want in your head. Like if you want to say, well, okay, F is the 4 chord of C or whatever. This is one of those things I didn't even realize until I was, analyzing this to explain it on video. But just thought it was interesting. So that gets us back to the C chord. All right, so now we're going to move out of this neighborhood and we're going to move up into this neighborhood. We're still going to be playing the same chords, the C, G sharp, and F minor. So now I'm going to come up and play out of the E shape. So this is my C chord out of the E shape. I don't need to play all 6 strings. I don't need to make a bar chord. I'm just going to be playing the top 3 strings. So I'm going to go. Another great embellishment. Walk away with nothing else. Steal this idea. This is out of the E shape, so top 3 strings of that shape. But one of the reasons I like to play these triads as opposed to the full bar chord is I have some free fingers here to be able to do little little embellishments like that. So this is playing my C sus4 chord. It's the same thing that we did down here. Actually, down here we did a sus2. Up here we're doing a sus4. So I'm going to hammer on to the, this is on the 3rd string, to my 10th fret. And then come back to that note, and then take your ring finger off. And that's a nice little embellishment off of this triad. All right, so up next we go to that G sharp chord, and I'm thinking about, okay, where's my nearest one? I don't want to jump all over the place. And then I realized, oh, I have a G sharp note right here on the 9th fret 2nd string. Oh yeah, I've got this triad right here. This is my D shape. It's like the D triad from first position that we know. If you play it right here though, you're playing a G sharp. So look at that. It's right there. It's so convenient. In fact, both notes, or both chords are sharing that C note. But then I went like this. This note, by the way, would be like your sharp 4. So if we were looking at the G sharp major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's what it would be by default, right? But if you sharp the 4, you get this sound. And you get that Lydian sound. So that gets into the whole Lydian thing. Now, I didn't think that through. I just thought of it as like an embellishment off of this chord, and I probably played it a few different ways to find, you know, the sound I was looking for. In fact, I did the same thing when we played it down here. So there was the C. When we play the G sharp, this note is your sharp 4, right? Look, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's that note. So it's got that Lydian sound. I didn't think about it that way. I mean, I was just trying to stay where I was at and just repeat myself and see if it worked. So it kind of mirrored that when I played it up here. The next chord is the F minor, and I played it right here. Right? That's like the A minor shape. I'm just playing the top 3 strings of them. 8th fret 1st string, 9th fret 2nd string, 10th fret 3rd string. And I played it like this. So I put my pinky down on that 11th fret 2nd string. There's a little embellishment there. And this chord also shares that C note. So if you look at that, we have the C note here in our C chord. We have the C note in our G sharp, and we have the C note in our F minor. Then after that I came back down here to where I started and played. This is a great little embellishment. If you get nothing else out of this entire lesson, steal this one. It's kind of a James Taylor vibe, but it's also sort of a pedal steel kind of lick. But it works off of, or it lives inside of, I should say, this C chord using the A shape. It lives inside your A shape. So you can picture that from the cage system, and you can see that I'm between the 3rd fret and the 5th fret, and that's where this lick lives. So you're going to put your index finger down on the 3rd fret 1st string, and then come down here to the 5th fret 2nd string and do a half bend. Release. And then strings 1 and 2 on the 3rd fret. And then while that rings out, I come down here to the 5th fret 3rd string. Now that's the shape we started with, right? So hopefully that brings you back. And then there's my hammer on again to my C chord. So this will be my sus2, and we're hammering on to the C chord. But this little lick, when you put it together with the little bend, it's got a pedal steel kind of sound. I just love that. I think of that as being a James Taylor lick. All right, so as you can see, as we played this lead up to this point, there's very minimal movement. Even though we were playing in two different neighborhoods, once you are in the neighborhood, it's just sort of like moving as little as possible. And a lot of that is just being sort of experimental. So when I do this kind of arrangement, this isn't the kind of thing that I'm improvising. I mean, you could improvise, you could think more scales, and you could improvise like, you know, sort of on the fly. But this is more of an arrangement. And so when I do this kind of work, I kind of put on my detective hat and I just start exploring. I look at where I'm at. I move one finger. What sound does that make? You know, or I'll just repeat a chord, or repeat an idea over different chords and see what different tones I get from it. And a lot of that is just new discovery. I would have never been able to sit and write something like this and just, you know, on paper, you know, or think about it from a theory perspective. It only comes from just experimenting. So when you're composing something like this, don't be afraid to experiment and just repeat lines over and over again and just see what they sound like over different chords. You might surprise yourself. Well, in fact, you will surprise yourself. All right, so this wraps up the first part. If you'd like to join us for the part 2 video, download the tablature, download the MP3 jam tracks so that you can put all this in context and practice it. You can get those extras one more time by going to activemelody.com, go to the weekly lessons page, and do a search for EP521. All right, we'll see you in part 2.